everyone. So when Digiday asked me to talk about building an agency from scratch, I thought, that's a pretty cool one. Maybe I can actually influence someone who's kind of on the fence to start an agency. And to me, that's a pretty amazing experience you can have. But also, there's been a lot of talk about modernizing agencies. So I think sometimes it really is true that the only way to modernize something is to kind of blow it up and start over. So if you're thinking about starting an agency, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. Maybe we can do a secret signal. Anyone? Frances, how dare you? She works for me. When we thought about starting a new company, the thing that everyone said to me was, why another agency? I was a co-founder of Huge about 1 million years ago, and they're like, why another agency? There's not much room for innovation. There's the client, there's a fixed budget, there's procurement, so it's even more fixed budget. All the good talent is leaving agencies. Haven't you heard that? Why would you want to do another agency? And honestly, it kind of makes my blood boil to hear that, and it kind of made me want to do it even more. So people are like, why don't you go back and do products again, or maybe join my VC firm? And I thought, there's an amazing opportunity to innovate with agencies, and I think you just have to try a little harder and actually look at what clients want today and what talent wants today. So we left and started working co about 2 years ago. It's been an amazing experience. Definitely made a lot of mistakes. Definitely made a lot of mistakes back at Huge too. When you hear about Huge, it probably sounds like this amazingly successful thing. It's kind of an overnight success that took like 7 years to get that way, so it wasn't automatic at all. So it really is about learning from mistakes. I'm going to tell you some of mine. So the first one is, we didn't intend to create an agency. This is a really noble thing to say. I've said it. Plenty of great people say this. We just wanted to do great work. We just loved our craft. I've come to think over the years that there's actually a better way. So what usually happens in life, not just in agencies but in software companies, is so you have a great team, you start making a good product, and then you kind of want to reach more people with that. You like winning. So you hire a salesperson, you hire a new business person. That starts to work. Hopefully the culture doesn't change too much, but possibly the salespeople start influencing kind of how you make things, or what kind of clients you talk to, or how fast you do things, what kind of meetings you take. But eventually, if you solve that, you've got this pretty big company all of a sudden, and that's hard to run. So the next thing that happens is, if you're not good at running stuff, you start to overcorrect and get a lot of operational people, and then they become the stars. And you know what? They deserve it, because it is really hard to operate a large, crazy, chaotic agency. So it makes a lot of sense that operations kind of takes over. But by that point, if you're not careful, all of the good people who created that product back in the day, all of the people who kind of created the thing that the client wanted in the first place, are gone. Or they're less influential, or they're less happy, which by definition means you're doing something less special. So maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a way to actually start from the beginning and actually admit to yourself that you're trying to succeed. You're trying to grow this thing. Let's actually start a business. Just because agencies have some flaws today in their model doesn't mean we don't have to think about starting a business. So the way we thought about it was, we're going to have 10 partners. We have a strong point of view that hands-on talent is the big differentiator now. We focus on hiring practitioners. This doesn't mean that you don't need great account people, you don't need great operational people, but we feel like that's the big differentiator. So we have 10 partners. We've shared the company broadly, and we're all sort of hands-on talent. And we think that way the company can scale, because we can always have a partner on every project. So we'll see if that works. It remains to be seen. So the next mistake that I made personally, and this one is a little embarrassing because it's pretty obvious, but to me, I always said back then, look, our work is great. We have the right model. Why do we need to have so many stories? Why are we worrying about marketing so much? So it turns out that you can have the best team in the world, the most talent on the whole planet. You can have a great model, you can do some great work, but really no one cares. So in the long run, when you have those things, you're going to win. But in the short run, no one cares. So you have to start getting a little better at telling your story. And I was kind of stubborn about this in my last company, and it just took us years to start to get on people's radar. The trade press has a really hard time getting their heads around which agencies are good. It's a really hard job. I mean, not Digiday, leave them out of this. But we would all agree that like talent probably is the biggest factor, but it's really hard to see where the good talent is. In fact, talent really is the one thing that people basically never talk about. They talk about big wins. They talk about sexy case studies. You just need one of those. They talk about crazy personalities. So if you're starting an agency, what I would do differently is this time is just make sure you work on storytelling and you save time for that, and you do it even more than you think you need it, because it's really, really important. The third mistake is we just need to get better at new business. So you have this great team, you're doing great work, you're confident in it, and then you're wondering why you're not getting more business. I'm not sure that the answer is to get a great new business person, get a great rainmaker. When you have your practitioners, when you have your talent on the front lines, talking to those prospects from the very first conversation, that gives you the ability to actually shape those engagements from the very beginning. That gives you the ability to actually qualify who you want to work with and who's right for your team. Projects today are so collaborative, especially in our model. We do digital products and services, so our clients become like part of our family, really. So we have to choose our clients really, really carefully, and I don't think that focusing on new business really is the safest way to grow. So we got to 106 people in a, yeah, we're not Accenture. So we got to 106 people in about 2 years. Neither myself nor my partners have any sales background. I talk too fast, obviously, and half my partners can't even speak English. They're international, so we're big believers in diversity. It's great. So, but this sort of lack of having a rainmaker, having a big new business department, or really having any department, has put us on the front lines, and I think it's helped us choose our clients really carefully and helped shape the company. This thing of not having a new business person. Okay, so I lied. This is the mistake section. So I lied about that. We actually did try to hire one person. It's a very focused hiring strategy. We tried to hire this guy named Mike Dude. I'll just tell you his name. You can try to hire him yourself. Good luck with that. He's both a VC and a new business person, and we thought that would be interesting because we often take equity in our clients, and it was that's a whole other Digiday panel about agency models probably. But so the lesson here is we learned from failing to hire this person. And so you learn things by accident. Again, this is the mistake section. So let me just give you a little bit of context about us, because we are kind of different. So Work & Co. Founded about 2 years ago. We're up to 106 employees on 106 million. 3 offices, and most of us came from Huge. I was a co-founder of Huge. And we only really do products and services. So we do product strategy, design, and technology, and we work on our clients' core products and services. We don't really do a lot of marketing. We're less interested in advertising. We feel like today great people want to work in a place where what they do really is the focus. So we're pretty narrow that way. So aside from being narrow, let me give you 3 tricks that have kind of worked for us so far. So the first one is, when I hear people talk about this, the talent crisis, I think they kind of have it a little backwards. I don't want to be combative about this, but I really feel like talent is just not a detail that you can fix, like the plumbing or like when the printer is out of ink. Really, you've got to create an agency from the ground up to attract the right projects for talent, to attract the right work experience. And so that's kind of how we did it. We did it a little bit backwards. We thought about where would the best talent want to work, because today there really is a talent food chain. And I think if you're starting an agency today, you want to think about like where your model might land on this. People are flowing in very specific directions. And when I saw people in my last company, leave, they always went to very specific places. Usually it was to a startup where they got shares and they got to make their own product. It wasn't to like a big traditional agency. So there's a really clear direction that talent flows in. And this is not how you're going to get those people, by the way. I would actually just not say this word. It may seem harmless, but you might get addicted to it, and then you'll forget what's really, really important. So I try to avoid saying this word, and it keeps me focused on what I think really matters. The best people don't come for this, and the best people also, and I've asked them, the best people also know when an agency is using this to make up for other stuff. So one more thing we can do is just try a little bit harder. Here's a job description. It's an actual description from a good agency. It's about 2,000 employees. There are definitely some fun projects there, but the description says, the producer's responsibility is to satisfy the client's requirements, and the position consists of distinct components. So I'm not really sure what this person's going to do. It doesn't sound like it's too much fun. Here's a posting for a similar role for a non-agency. So BuzzFeed's looking for someone to execute big ideas. The internship will be fun for someone who wants to come up with big ideas. There's big ideas again. And that's an internship. So I know the first company, and I know that actually it's a pretty fun place to work. They have some good clients. They have some good projects. So it's kind of amazing how badly they lost this battle. So what I would say is just kind of hit reset. There's not an agency talent pool out there. People are not sort of finishing school and dreaming of working in an agency. So start over and kind of describe what you do. Our second trick is just hire them. So we're all competing for the same people again. Like you're competing with Google and Facebook. When they meet someone great, they just hire them, right? It's pretty. I mean, sometimes they'll do something new. They'll need a new skill set, so they'll have to go out and get it. But generally speaking, they're just constantly hiring great people. So if you're an agency and you sort of close a deal with a client, and then you have 3 weeks to scramble and try to find someone, you're not going to win against someone competing the other way. You've got to play it the way Facebook and Google does. So now, when I say this, I realize I'm kind of saying maybe you should raise some capital and actually have money to make these moves. I actually don't believe in agencies raising capital for a bunch of other reasons, so I'm going to stick with just hire them for the name of the slide, but it's an idea. So you're looking for ideas. People say there's not room for innovation in the agency model. Here's a really easy one. Just try like unbundling something. So here's the famous illustration of Craigslist. So Craigslist has like 300 things they do. These companies decided to just take one of those things and unbundle it and do it really, really well, just that thing, and add a ton of value. So you see like Etsy and Uber and Airbnb. So if you want an idea for an agency, just look at what the big agencies are doing, and there's 100 ideas, and there's 100 models left to do. By the way, it doesn't just have to be one discipline. We do products and services, but we do, in order to do that, we do strategy, design, and technology. So integration is not totally dead, but focus is important. So I got 1 minute left. Let me tell you a story. So this is the famous physicist Niels Bohr, and in 1930, a few years after he'd won the Nobel Prize, he invited a friend to his summer cottage. So the friend gets there and sees a horseshoe on the wall, and he says, "Niels, do you really believe that superstition that like having a horseshoe on your wall is going to keep your house safe? I mean, you Niels Bohr, you too?" So Niels says, "Well, look, of course I don't believe that crap. I'm a Nobel Prize winning physicist. I know exactly how the world works. Of course I don't believe that. But someone once told me that it works even if you don't believe in it." So what is this all about? Well, to me, starting an agency really is about 100 little judgment calls per day. So if you want to believe that, you can do some boring projects just to pay the bills, that if you have full service, you can still have high quality, that it's sort of necessary to do rush jobs once in a while. Look, I'm not going to judge you. I mean, a Nobel Prize winner thought that a horseshoe would keep him safe. But to me, the most powerful word that you can say in an agency is this one. And if you stick to your beliefs, and if you think about the thing that actually made you want to start an agency, and if you keep your values straight, you might just walk into the office one day and see all these brilliant people who share those values, and you might be amazed at what you built. And that's the last thing I'm going to say.
Thanks, Gene. I think we're actually out of time, but I know you're going to be leading one of the breakout sessions in about half an hour, and we're having class outside, so you guys can ask him questions then. Thanks, Gene. That was great. Coming up next.